Scotland.
Hey, just
Nailed it.
like that, we are live for Talk Time with TJ, number 190. Triple T 190 on August 19th, 2025. If things look a little different tonight, that's because I'm coming to you live from Alexandria, Minnesota, where I grew up. For those of you live on YouTube, I can say hi, Mom, by going, hi, Mom.
Hi, honey.
It's right there. We got a good friend of the family, Dave, right there. Hey, Dave.
You say hi.
Say hi, Dave. There we go. People joining in all over the place. Appreciate you guys showing up. So I don't have my normal notes in front of me. This is going to be fun. This is live upon live. Can you guys hear me okay out there? I
Yep.
don't have all of my office equipment, obviously. So we're going to have some fun tonight. Again, my name is TJ. I call myself a professional problem solver, and I always follow that up with no, I don't know everything. In fact, there's a whole lot I don't know, but what I do know is the ability to ask lots of questions to help clients and people find the solutions for the challenges they are up against. I have a website that you can go check out, the tswb.com. That's right, the tallskinnywhiteboy.com. That's what it stands for. Always has, always will. I don't care what you find on the internet. If it is not Tall Skinny White Boy, it is not I. So, what do I get to do? I get to do all sorts of fun stuff. On my website, it'll show you a few of the things that I get to do. I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief. I do offer corporate coaching. I work with athletes from beginner all the way up to pro level, and doing a lot of relationship stuff still. So if you know anybody out there that is looking for their king or their queen or their unicorn or whatever suits their fancy, have them get a hold of me, see if we can help them out. What else? YouTube. Normally, this is again where I would say hi, Mom, but luckily I'm blessed to be with her tonight. And we're coming to you live from her apartment in Minnesota. But for those of you that are watching live or watching the recording, please do me all the YouTube favors that don't cost you anything but sure help me out. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, click some likes. I could use a few more likes because I like the likes. And share this with other people. I appreciate that. Drop some comments. Love to read them. And it is time for introducing the tie of the week. And I do have to give another shout out to Dave. Hey, Dave. I forgot to bring the tie for the tie of the week. I had my travel tie, which you guys have seen a couple of times, and Dave was kind enough to go through his collection and got me some good old red, white, and blue. Yep. So, feeling pretty fancy tonight. Love to hear from you guys quick. Who's got something cool to share from the last 7 days since we got on here? And hey, there's a new face, my good buddy Duncan out in San Diego. Whoop, whoop. Anybody got anything cool they want to share from the last 7 days? No news is good news?
Had lots of insights, which is really great, but I feel like it's more hour two.
And I guess I'm going to have to apologize. I don't have my normal stereo here pumping out the
Oh,
sound.
the volume.
So I'm running off a laptop with minimal volume.
I had lots of good insights over the week, which was really fun. And yeah, I feel like they're more hour two related. So we shall
Hour
see.
two related. Good. That means when it's time for hour two, we won't have to wait for the polite chipmunks to give us the heads up.
It depends.
Anybody
We'll
else?
see.
Wow. Guess we're going to pop right into it. Topics of the night are when or now, the game, and the messages. And as you guys know, if you've been around Planet TJ for a while and been on Triple T for a while, you know that a lot of my stuff comes from working with my clients, and this one is no different. When or now came from actually a Triple P, the Perfect Partner Protocol client. And we've been working on a few habits. Nothing bad, just some habits they wanted to change, get away from. And so one of them happened to be vaping. And they've bopped back and forth numbers of times, and the amount of vape sticks and whatever they've tossed and then decided, and finally we had a little download today. And I told them, so you're working on manifesting your partner. You've got your list of all the things that your partner is going to be and you want them to be, and that allows you to become who you want to become so that you're the perfect partner for them. I said, so if your perfect partner were sitting right next to you right now, would you ask them to hand you that vape so you could take a bump? Well, no. I said, well, would you hand it to them and ask them if they wanted a bump? No. Well, why not? Well, they don't vape. Then why are you waiting? Why are you doing it now? Why is it when? Part of manifesting is the actions as though it is there, present, next to you in your life. You can feel it, you can hear it, you know the what it makes you feel like having it already in your life. And so I said, you're working so hard, we've done so many things for you to manifest your perfect person. When are you going to start acting as though they are sitting next to you? Or do you want to do that now? You want your business to start climbing. Are you going to look at your schedule as though it's already full? Or are you going to be looking at it at all the openings that you want filled? Mark, got your hand up.
Just a squirrel came by and
Squirrel.
whispered in my ear. Said, so when would now be a good time for you to, stop vaping?
Yes, exactly. When would now be a good time? When would now be a good time to start acting as though it's already in your life? And I've brought this concept up before. And they said, well, I've already written it down. Well, as we know, there's a difference between it's written down and I'm living it. I know what I want, and I'm acting as though I have it. I believe it's coming, but I'm living in fear that it won't happen. Lenora.
I find that it's a I've called it in the past like a ping pong game from hell, because you have both going back and forth. And the best part, or the best thing that I've learned, was to sit down and have a conversation with what's going on, whether it's the heart, brain, and chair thing that we talk about, but really just have those parts go back and forth and quite literally sit in that conversation. Because I find a lot of the time we're working to not have the conversation that we're having, but it's the literal sit in the emotion of it that I find to be the most challenging, but also really the most rewarding and helpful and pivotal.
And yeah, that's the when you were dealing with that ping pong conversation, how long did it take before you felt like you were comfortably hitting those replies back with confidence?
I would say it would depend on who I was having the conversation with. I often encourage people to write it down and to go back and forth with that. But if it was, for example, if you were coaching me in the moment and you're going, okay, well, who's saying that? Well, who's saying that now? And pointing out that there's a misalignment in that conversation, that is also very, very helpful to get clarity. Because for somebody who isn't paying attention or who has no idea that they're having this conversation, it doesn't make sense until you have this external conversation and you get really good at having it in a conversation with somebody else, till you can take ownership of it and write it down, write through it.
And that's where having either a coach, an accountability partner, somebody that is working with you towards that goal is a huge benefit, especially when they understand the conversations that you may be dealing with, and having the ability to go to them, wow, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm struggling. I've got this fear. I'm like, what if it doesn't work out? And they can bring you back to center and go, well, do you believe it's happening, or are you still questioning it? Lenora.
One of the things that you had pointed out, and somebody else had pointed it out, so you had called it, who's on stage right now? Who has the microphone? And a very dear colleague and friend, Stacy, had said, who's driving the bus? Who just jumped in and took over? Because that's not you. Because she was hearing the conversation. And also, especially when you work with an accountability partner or coach, they're listening on your behalf. They're not trying to get you to do something. They're quite literally pointing out the misalignment, and that's really helpful, or the inconsistency, or the other version of going back and forth. And people don't realize it, that we do this so normally, naturally, automatically. That's why it's so helpful to have a conversation with somebody who knows what they're looking for. So if you go to Elijah and you say, hey, I'm having this problem, I want to stop vaping. If you go to TJ and you say, hey, I have this problem, I want to stop vaping, they're going, okay, something else is going on. I'm trained to listen to that, and I'm working on their behalf. That is absolutely pivotal. And I don't think people, I didn't think of it like this until most recently. It's almost like you go to a physician and you say, hey, I'm having this pain. It hurts when I do this, but it doesn't hurt when I do this. And they're working to diagnose, or they're working to help identify what's going on. It's the same exact thing that we do, except we happen to do it in conversation. And it's quite literally the discomfort isn't in our knee or in our hip. The discomfort is quite literally in our brain and sometimes stuck in our chest or in our stomach or wherever it might be.
Well said. Thank you. Anybody else got any ahas, epiphanies, input they would like to share on this so far? A lot of what I find, especially in the manifesting, is the challenge of the belief that it is on its way. And again, one of the better metaphors or examples that I've heard of how to picture it is, okay, so you go to the restaurant, you look at the menu, you decide, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Knowing that there's going to have to be some part of you that is going to measure up to it. Whether that be, do you have the means to pay for it? Is your body capable of consuming what you've ordered? But as soon as the person walks away with your order, you send your order off to the kitchen, you don't get up from your table and go back to the kitchen and go, hey, yeah, you're the one, I'm over on table 7. Yeah, I ordered the number 8 with a coffee and apple pie. Yeah, that. When can I expect that? I know I just placed the order, but I'm the guy over there. Yeah, number 8, over on the table there. Or do you sit there and entertain yourself and get ready for the meal that you know is coming? Now, sometimes we're flipping hungry. I get that. And a little hangry sets in and you're like, ugh, how did that table over there end up with their order? They got here after I did. You don't know. They may have called it in. They may have put in a reservation for something. Or you, of course, had to order the steak and all the settings and all the, and they ordered a grilled cheese with tater tots. Now, there ain't nothing wrong with a grilled cheese and tater tots, but sometimes that's a little easier to manifest than a 32-ounce tomahawk with Brussels sprouts that are made just the way they're supposed to be and all the above. Especially if you want that twice-baked potato that is just that way. Yeah, I heard that. Somebody just went, uh-huh. And I can keep going on because I do offer weight loss also. So for the, yeah, bada bum. But again, regardless of what your order is, when you think about the items that we're requesting from God, source, universe, whatever you want, whatever fits your belief system, what does God, source, the universe lack? Is there anything with it, you can say, well, I asked to have my great-grandfather resurrected and come and help me build a house again. I guess it could happen. I'm not going to say it can't, but I could probably put a little money on that it might not happen in the timeline that you were hoping for. And Dr. David has said that a couple of times when you're wanting to manifest things, are you in the scope of being able to receive that? If you're 5'4" and asthmatic and haven't exercised your entire life, and you want to be a bigger basketball star than Shaq, you might want to start a little smaller in the manifestation requests. I'm not saying you can't, but any other ahas, epiphanies that anybody, Lenora?
So since this popped up during hour one, I will share this. I know Elijah had mentioned reality transurfing last week, and I absolutely love reality transurfing because it has made so much sense to me. And one of the things that I was recently having some conflict with was I'm preparing for a keynote speech. And in the wonderful world that is Lenora, there was a thought that kept coming up that said, I can't enjoy the process of this. I have to stress over it. If I don't stress over it, if I don't build up all this anxiety over it, it's not important to me. So I literally was creating my own anxiety, even though I was working to say like, no, this is natural. This is normal. This is what we do as a professional speaker. This is very, very good for us. This is very, very, the pressure is a privilege. There was a conflict there. And when I had kept drilling down and kept looking back at it, and I said, okay, who gave you this thought? And I love to think of the personal growth world as a buffet. I've now come to see the entire world as a buffet. Who gave you this thought, Lenora? You were not born with it. Who gave it to you? Where did it come from? And the way that it appeared was quite literally as if somebody had, in my imagination, it was as if somebody put all this stress on a platter and moved it across the table to me and said, eat. And I literally was taught to be anxious because if you're not anxious, it means that it's not important to you. And that was huge because I was literally able to see that conversation. And for people who are listening to the beginning part of this, going, what the hell is she talking about a conversation back and forth in a ping pong game? When part of me is going, okay, you don't need to be anxious about this. Who gave you this thought? Another part of me was going, this is how I got to this thought. This was where it came from. Those are the pieces of the conversation. And that was massively, massively pivotal. And in reality transurfing, they would say that you detached from the pendulum. You detached from this energy source that you were feeding. Or in our wonderful world, we would say, oh, you got the lesson. You don't need to do this anymore. You were taught this. You quite literally disconnect the story. You disconnect the lesson. You disconnect the memory and go, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. This doesn't make sense. And that's where you then get to reestablish and rewire a pattern that works for you that says, no, this is a good thing. I like to do this. This is really, really helpful. I want to create this speech. I want to go on this journey of creating this speech. So that hopefully gives people a little bit more insight about what's coming out of the kitchen and why isn't it coming out fast enough or why isn't it coming out the way that you want. It's because of all this underlying crap that is stuck in there, and that's why things aren't working out.
And thank you for bringing that up. My squirrels over here are screaming. For those of you that are watching for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, I've got squirrels that know squirrels that bring along squirrels that are related to squirrels, and they will bring up ideas all the time. So I welcome questions and all this stuff, but we also know that the those squirrels can be chased down rabbit holes and through tunnels, and we could end up in a whole different conversation real quick. And sometimes while I'm chatting, the squirrels will run away with the sign they gave me, and I forget where I was. Luckily, this isn't it. So, when Lenora was talking about where did that information come from? Where did that belief system get handed to me? And why am I holding on to it so strongly? And that's a really good place to also understand when you see these other people that just seem to have, whether you want to call it luck or amazing karma or all the above, and you start getting the FOMO or the, well, how come I don't get that? And it can be as simple as they were not given those limiting beliefs as a wonderful present growing up from whoever, whether it be family or friends or environment. They have a belief system that when they're like, yeah, I want this to happen, and it happens, and you watch it. I've got friends that I've known, and they just seem to have the Midas touch. They've got the golden goose, they've got all the above, and you watch them, and you're over there busting your rumpus and trying to make things connect, and they just walk in, and it's kind of like if you've ever been to Vegas and did any gambling. I've been there many times, but I don't gamble. And you see those people that they're there all the time, and they're losing paycheck after paycheck, and they may have dropped $400 on this one machine, and the other some person right behind them goes, I've got $1, and I think today's the day. Today's the day. I'm going to win big. I've got this dollar I've been hanging on to for 3 days, and this is the one. And they move on to the machine that you just dropped $500 in and couldn't even get a quarter win. They pop it in, boom, and it's the biggest payday of the month. And you're like, what? Now, was it luck? Did they steal your opportunity? Did you just need to put in one more dollar and that's all the universe was waiting for? Or did they simply put in their order and God, universe, source said, order up? And because they were sitting at their table where they placed the order, their order came to them. Just like that. Elijah.
Morning.
There we go. Good morning, my friend.
So, I've asked many questions in this life. One of the things I do, one of the things I get paid to do is ask questions. And the hardest question that I've ever come across is, who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I? Like, really? And I think I am this thing, for lack of a better word, that makes choices. When it comes down to it, that's all I am. It's just this thing that makes choices, that has the ability to choose. Right? And where I am and what I see, what I experience, what I manifest, if that's kind of what we're talking about, is a result of all the choices that I have made up until this point.
Yep.
Right? And if my experience is not the one that I want it to be, then who am I? Like, who is the me that's making the choices that's leading to the result that I don't want? And who do I need to become that's different from the me that I am, who would make different choices and lead me to a different experience?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be fitter, healthier. I want to not run out of breath so quickly. But I am, you hear the identity, I am not a gym person. Right? I'm not really an exercise enjoying person. So those two, they kind of clash. And if that's not me, if that's not my identity, then obviously I'm not going to do something that's not in my identity. But if I don't do the thing, then I won't build up my stamina and my, my lung capacity and my ability to not run out of breath so quickly. But so then you start probing a little bit and you think, well, okay, well, who am I that could do something that is enjoyable, that might also have the same? So I think, well, I like swimming. So, okay, swimming counts, right? So, like, where's that intersection between who you are and what you want that will allow you to do the thing that the kind of identity that you're currently holding will allow, which will then lead, because that's the order, isn't it? It's because I was taught growing up, not directly taught, it wasn't like, Elijah, this is the rule, but the general understanding was that you would work hard and then you would earn a certain amount of money and have a nice house, nice car, nice whatever, and then you would be someone. You will have earned the respect of people and society, and so it was do into have into be. But it's the wrong order. You must be first. You must choose an identity and be first. Then if you are that identity, you will naturally do what that kind of person does, which will lead to having the kind of result that those people have. So, who are you?
And I'm so glad you brought that up, especially the part about the desire to get into shape or things of that nature. You're going to have to put in some form of effort for the majority of these. I want to manifest, I want to manifest more income. Okay. You may have to do something different than what you are presently doing. And that can be, I've seen it a number of times where you have to be ready for the plot twist left turn that God, the universe, whatever, may throw at you to open up the avenue for what you are requesting to find you. Like, I want to have big muscles and six-pack abs while I'm sitting on my lazy boy at home watching Netflix and eating Cheetos. You may have to change your lifestyle a little bit to become the vessel that can have that request delivered to you. Just like in Triple P, what? Go ahead.
And it doesn't have to be hard,
No,
right? So you will require some action, because action is what will facilitate some kind of movement or development of a situation. However, it doesn't have to be difficult.
right.
People seem to think that taking action automatically means that it's hard, and that's not the case. You need to separate those two.
And exactly, and just like I've told a number of people, yes, one way that you can increase your income quickly is to win the lottery. But you still need to buy a lottery ticket. You still have to put in something to open up that avenue. That's why on Triple P, oh, I want to meet this person, da 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 da. I'm like, okay. Are you the person that this amazing person will not only be attracted to, but will be matched to? Mark, thanks for your patience. Got your hand up?
Yeah, with Elijah, again, I compliment your way of putting it. I just have my viewpoint is who I am will determine, at the moment, will determine what I want. And those of us who have done the work, as who I am changes, what I want changes. It's in a constant balance of, who I am, what I want. And as we continue to do the work, and we're all on a journey. But as I have become more, what I want changes, basically. So, but it's always interactive, when you've got, when you've reached, when you've leveled up, well, what you want is going to change. And then that will change who you are, which will change what you want. So it's a constant incremental improvement.
And that is so in line with Triple P. I find that, you guys have heard this how many times, that my relationship clients in Triple P, they'll get started and they make their list and they start seeing where they can improve, which allows them to attract somebody better. And they're like, oh, it's the best so far. But it doesn't take long before they're continuing to climb the ladder. And the person that they met was at this level, which when we started Triple P, they met them here. But they kept progressing and this person didn't. Well, then they meet somebody here and it's, oh, it's the best so far again. And that ladder, as long as they keep climbing the ladder, it doesn't, finally, it cracks me up. I love my clients, and I love especially the Triple P, and watching their progress and their journey. And I've seen the pattern now. Most of my Triple P clients will go through usually a minimum of 2 best so fars. And a couple of them have had 3 or 4, until they just go, I've been back in the kitchen going, hey, yeah, that's me, number 7, table 7, looking for, yeah, ordered a number 8 with the, yeah. Instead of waiting at the table and waiting to order long enough for them to see, what are other people eating? I know I've been guilty of that. Go in there and I'm hungry, hangry, and looking at the menu, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of good. That's too expensive. And and you start doing that evaluation of, yeah, I'd like to have this, but I don't want to pay that price, but I don't really want that, but that's kind of affordable. This sounds good, but I've never had it before, and do I really want to invest that much into something I'm not sure of? Da 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 da. And so you order something that sounds vaguely familiar. You've had it before. You know that it's easy on the digestion. It tastes kind of okay. And then while you're waiting for your order to come out, the table over there gets their order, and it's one of those weird things that you hadn't ordered before. And it looks really good. And it smells fabulous. And they seem to be enjoying it. And you start suffering from FOMO, fear of missing out. What did I miss out on? Why didn't I order that? Why? And those voices start coming in and stealing your happiness. Kind of like the comedian talking about when you were a kid. We all wanted an ice cream cone. Oh, an ice cream cone. Oh, that'd be so good. A good just, and then you get that ice cream cone. You're like, oh, vanilla ice cream cone is so good. And then somebody walks by with a ice cream cone with sprinkles.
No, it's Eddie Murphy.
Yes, and you're like,
Ice cream, I got ice cream. Running after the
I got ice cream, you didn't get none.
can't afford because your family's on welfare and your dad is out.
You know, and then you drop it.
It could have fallen in dog poop. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you pick it back up, get sprinkles. But the other comedian talked about losing the joy of what you had because that ice cream cone was so good until you saw somebody walking by with one with sprinkles. And so then you got to throw a fit and and you finally get the sprinkles. And then somebody walks by with a double scoop and it's got chocolate too. If I only had a scoop of chocolate, life would be perfect then. Where does it stop? What have you become? What do you actually need? And I'm not saying you have to stay in the comfort zone. I'm not saying you have to live small. You don't have to be content with just a vanilla ice cream cone. But it takes a little time to research, and that's why, again, for Triple P, I tell them, you are on a quest of R&D, research and development. You are researching other people so that you can develop yourself into the person that is worthy of what you're asking for. You know, I've seen plenty of people that, being a motorhead, I see all these, oh, I wish I had that Ferrari F40. Oh, man, I want a car, that GT500. Oh, yeah. Well, for one, do you know how to drive a manual transmission? Do you have the means to do a $700 oil change or more? Are you going to be able to pay to replace the tires at ridiculously low amount of mileage? Then maybe that's not what you really want. Elijah.
Another thing I think most people don't seem to realize, and I know you guys are tired of hearing me say it, but it's all about frequency, right?
It's all about what?
Frequency,
Frequency, yes.
right? It's all about what is it that you're currently putting out,
Yes.
okay? And here's the thing. The order you place is dynamic and ever changing as your frequency is changing, right? So you have your ice cream and you're happy and you're enjoying, and that's your frequency, right?
Yep.
And more stuff is on its way to you that is in harmony with the frequency of happy and gratitude and enjoyment and all those nice, high, good, positive vibrations. But the moment you see sprinkles, you get jealous and frustrated, and now you don't, with unbeknownst to you, your order just got updated because your frequency changed,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So if you're getting upset looking at other people's stuff, or impatient because yours isn't here yet, understand that those things that you're currently feeling is the vibration and the frequency that you're currently emitting, and your order is constantly updating to what is happening right now.
Yes.
So can you remain light and positively expectant, right, even through times when things are not quite going your way? Because that shows a level of determination and a level of resilience that will force things to rearrange themselves and become more in line with what they call your dominant frequency, which is like, your default, where you live on your day-to-day, when nothing really good or nothing really bad is happening. What is it that you default to? That's really what's being ordered. That's really what you've been practicing regularly. That's what you're going to get. So, yeah.
Yes. Completely agree. Lenora.
I want to piggyback off of what Elijah was saying. So somebody walks by with sprinkles. I want sprinkles. What does it mean to you? If it means to you that they have something and you don't, that's the frequency that you just sent out. That's the frequency of lack, or whatever meaning you assign it. And things from past couple of months have just gotten deeper and deeper over the last couple of weeks. So we attach a meaning to something. For example, if my husband will say something to me and I didn't expect whatever he had said, and somehow I took it incorrectly, I assigned that meaning to it. And I somehow, something that he said hit me and it made me feel like I wasn't deserving or I was unworthy or some shit like that. I assigned that meaning. That's not what he just said. He just said something. And it might have been like, hey, can you do this for me? But he might have said it in such a tone that I didn't like. That's the ownership that I have to take and assign the meaning. And when I was able to detach and just say, oh, he's just talking. It doesn't mean anything other than he's just talking. We are taught to interpret what somebody said. We are taught read between the lines. We're taught to, didn't you get my tone? Or what does that mean to you? We're taught all this shit. And we're taught it at such a young age that they just kind of get stuck in there. And somehow it meant that I wasn't doing a good job, or it meant that I didn't do enough, and it meant that it wasn't good enough. No. It didn't mean any of that, Lenora. It meant that to you because that's how you processed it. But that's not what he said. And you're the one that needs to go in and shift that frequency. when Elijah was talking about how we constantly change, it is so rapid that this is why you kind of vibrate here. And when you get those extremes, they feel so extreme because you're up so high and then you get dropped down so low. Until you can get this steady frequency, you want to become so attuned to your own thoughts. That's how we get those massive shifts in identity changes.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Michael.
That's kind of what sales is. Just saying.
Oh my God, I want to hear this.
So you make it easy to want and hard to get, and you find out what sprinkles they need or they want. And
I did
whatever
not think of this.
you're doing about it's like, well, this is what you're looking at. What happened with my wife this morning, I came in from the gym, she was up, and I said, so what do you think of a breakfast? Now, I like to eat all the time, and that's just my metabolism. She's like, oh, you're already thinking about breakfast. Like, no, I was seeing if you wanted to go out or in. And she's like, oh, out. Ooh, pancakes with the cheese and stuff. Oh my gosh. And then it started clicking, and it's all about questions, but she made an assumption just like you did when your husband was talking, because you were taught to assume. And when you assume, you do what? You make an ass out of you and me. And so what we do as professionals, we find the way in and listen, skillfully listen and carefully answer, or carefully listen and skillfully listen or answer.
Yes. Spot on. And of course, I've got squirrels over here now running around with signs going, hey. The other thing is, are you willing to accept the change you have to go through to get the blessing or whatever that you are looking to manifest? I want to make this much money, but I don't want to quit my job. I want to do this as long as I don't have to change. One great thing about, or one thing that Dr. David hit one of the students with was, he was asking, what would you guys, who wants something to change? And one of the guys raised his hand. He goes, what do you want to change? He goes, I want to make a lot more money. And without skipping a beat, David goes, then you got to move. You know, what? You got to move. David knew where this guy lived. He said, you got to move from where you're currently living and get around people that make that kind of money and do what they do, become who they are so that you can make that money as well. And the guy was like, well, that's a lot of work. Well, do you want to make the money or do you want to stay the same? And real quick before we run out of time, one of the other things about manifesting, again, when I said be ready for what the universe makes you have to do to get the blessing you're requesting. We've seen it a number of times. We had one of the students had written down that they want to manifest a $25,000 a year raise. And we went through the manifesting protocol, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, guess what? They got fired. And they were like, wait, what the? And a week and a half after that, they got a job that paid $25,000 a year more. but they had to get that block out of the way to open up space for the blessing. And another one of the students in the same manifesting class wanted a very specific car. They weren't sure how they were going to be able to afford it, but they wanted this car. They'd seen it, everything, and a week later, their car got totaled. They weren't in it. It was parked on the street and got totaled. And obviously it was at the fault of the other party involved. And the insurance company wrote a check for the exact amount for that car that they wanted. The exact car they wanted. They were so blown away, they drove it to the next class, and we were having it on the third floor of the building that we had our clinic in, and brought everybody out on the deck so that we could look down, and they manifested a parking spot right on the opposite side of the street where we could come and take a look down, and there was their car. Were they, if somebody had said, you get your car, we're just going to have to total yours. Well, how many people would be like, yeah, that sounds legit. Yeah, my car's parked right over there. Why don't you take that big truck and just slam it right in there so I can get this car that I've been dreaming of? Or again, the person that wanted the raise. Yeah, well, we're going to have to fire you. Wait, what? But I didn't do anything. Yeah, but you want that raise, don't you? So we're going to have to make you unemployed. Elijah.
Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die.
Yep. Exactly. Lenara.
I'll save it.
Yep. There it is in the pocket of the squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, Holy Banana Peels Batman, we covered one of the three topics tonight. With 2 minutes left, Mark, what you got for us?
Well, I heard a story once about a woman who came to class on manifestation, and she said she wanted to marry a rich guy, and she did all the work. She went forth, and 6 months later, she was back in class, and she had married a guy named Rich, and so she came back for a second time, and I want to marry someone who's rich. And then she did the work again, went out, and came back 6 months later. She married a guy and divorced him. He was a rich guy, but he was a skinflint, wouldn't spend a nickel, and he didn't. She didn't do her manifestation right. So the instructor told her, "Okay, you've had 2 wishes. This is your last one, and so you better get it right. Your manifestation this time." That's it.
Yeah. Right back to careful what you wish for and how you go about it, which is why, again, on Triple P, I make my clients do some extensive work because I don't want them to go through 27 trial and error to get it figured out. Lenora.
I had initially forgot the thing that I was going to share, and then it came back to me. Thank you, squirrels. You started to talk about people who say they want change and then but like he said, you have to move your neighborhood or something. When people say what they want and other people offer insights or offer, hey, and I think that's something really big to notice. For the longest time, I took it as people were telling me what to do. And that was mostly because I was taught you listen to everybody else but yourself. And that was a really, really big thing, rather than saying, oh, they're just sharing. They're giving me their opinion. They're giving me their values. They're giving me their criteria. They're giving me this. They're saying all of this. I'm the one who gets to decide what it means to me, what's important about it. I'm the one who gets to decide if they're sharing or they're telling me what to do. And especially when you share with somebody who loves to solve problems in your life, this can be really, really helpful. That being said, when people share with somebody who likes to help in all situations and they don't want to take suggestions or they're too busy noticing why it will not work, no matter what. And
Yep.
they can go through what feels like a carnival game where all they're doing is quite literally just shooting down like anything that pops up. And that to me can be very frustrating because it's as if that conversational part that's coming out is fighting so hard not to change. And whatever approach is being taken, I don't necessarily think it's about the approach. I think it's about the rapport. We can get really caught up in lingual patterns and this pattern and that pattern and this technique and that technique. Did we get the change that we wanted? And if not, okay, what else do we need to go back and continue to work on with that piece? And then there also comes the point where we just have to accept and say, okay. Okay. I'm not the one that's going to be able to help it. I'm just going to say, okay, and I'm just going to lend you my ears and my eyes and I'll listen as much as you want. But I literally am not making any progress to help you. I'm literally only making it worse.
I am so glad, and I realize that we're into your guys' hour, but man, when you were talking about being in that shooting gallery where they are blasting down everything that you throw at them and they're telling you all the ways that everything won't work, the parable that popped in my head is the person that was in the floodplain on the top of the roof of their house. And yeah, the boat shows up and says, come on in. And they're like, nope, God's going to take care of me. And
like,
the boat goes off. Now the water's even higher and another boat shows up and they're like, jump in. They're like, nope, God's going to take care of me. I'm going to manifest through God the solution to this. And the boat goes okay and takes off and the water's even higher now. And a helicopter shows up and they drop down the ladder, climb aboard. Nope, God's going to take care of me. I'm going to manifest the perfect solution, and off it goes. And pretty soon the water just carries them away, and they don't make it. They show up at the gates and go, "Hey, I sent in my order of manifestation for you to make that work out." And God's like, "I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter." That was all that. Yeah, you couldn't take action. So you're here. And here we are, 4 minutes into into your guys' hour. And for those of you that are watching for the very first time, the way Triple T works, and I forgot to mention this earlier, is the first hour I do my best to make it through 3 topics, which once again this week we made it through 1 of the 3. Hopefully you guys got some really good insights, ahas, and epiphanies. But second hour, we do a little differently. Second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can ask a question, bring up a topic. And because I like to learn as well, I let people on the call answer first. And if I feel that after everybody's given their input and I still have something to add, that's when I give up my two centavos. So I know that we've got some people that said they've got some topics for the second hour. So let's get right into it. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got?
Mark, are you going first?
I can go first.
Go for it.
Quick one, building on something you said earlier. I always have to teach my male clients that um, between men and women, between guys, there's a point system. You do somebody a solid, you kind of owe them so that when they call you, you feel obligated. But something you said earlier sparked this thought that, for you ladies, when something happens within the relationship, in fact, everything that happens within the relationship, you're looking for the meaning of what was said, what was the tonality, how was it meant. We're just not that smart. Okay, we just say stuff. So,
I,
but
I don't,
as soon as the meaning of whatever nice, supportive thing he says, or something less than that, as soon as the meaning is derived, the counter goes right back down to zero. And but guys think, oh, I took her on a cruise. I got all kinds of points. I can go screw off or whatever, do whatever I want because I've got so many points to, but I don't think you ladies function on a point system like guys do. And, like I said, something you said earlier sparked that thought that, yeah, in relationships, there is no point system. And that's what I kind of teach my clients. Everything that you do, everything you say, is derived from meaning. But as soon as the meaning is derived, the counter goes right back to zero. So, but that's not how it works between guys, and if I help TJ with his carburetor, it's misfiring, and I tell him, oh, you got to do this, and this, and then he goes off and tries it, and that works, and he comes back, hey man, thanks a lot, appreciate it, I owe you one, and we build up a point system. But I don't think that's how it works for ladies. And I like everybody's input, if you could, with that. Do you believe that? Is that something? Again, I believe it. That's how I teach. Because guys think they're operating on a point system, and they're not. In a relationship.
Yep. Okay, who's got some thoughts, epiphanies, ahas, and opinions on this statement? Lenora.
I love that you shared this, Mark. If it's a comfort, most of us, at least in my wonderful world, most of us are taught, what does that mean? Like, you have to figure out what that means. And not only are we taught that, we bond over it in middle school. Like, oh, he walked away, it must mean, or like, we're quite literally taught, if a boy pushes you on the playground, he likes you, he secretly likes you. Like, we're taught to assign chaotic meaning to things, and it's very, very strange. So I don't disagree with it. It's literally like part of the programming that comes on board, and then you have to undo that. That being said, about a point system, I'm somebody, I will literally go to my husband and I will tell him my bank is very, very low. Like, I have a certain number of hugs that I need. There has to be a lot of connection. A lot of work, in case none of you had anticipated this already or kind of thought this. So I will jokingly say to him, the bank is low, or something like, oh, my bank is full. Like, I feel better, or, however I like to say it. But there is a point system, and it's not so much, and this is where we have to be careful, I personally think, about points. And what people will assign meaning to, especially in a disagreement. There are certain things that are very, very important to me. For example, if I get in a fight with my significant other, with my husband, we when we were very, very young, the word divorce got thrown around wildly frequently as if it was like a thing that we were either going to do. And it was, I don't remember who it was. It was so long ago at this point. And I think it was him, and it was becoming weaponized because we were in the middle of a fight. And it's when you take that, or like when you take a card, like if you take a Christmas card and you're now fighting the week after Christmas, and you take a card and you throw it on the floor, those are things that become weaponized. And they are also things that we then take meaning. And your point system, you're like, oh, this was worth 100 points. Because we're in the middle of a fight, I'm going to tear it up, like all your points go away. So if you're or with your couples, those are things that, I don't know if they've shared it with you. I imagine they have, given your extensive history of being a coach and a counselor and a therapist of all sorts. But that's how we are taught to fight. That you go after me. We don't work to understand. We work to hurt. And that was something I found to be very, very powerful, because I recognized early on, and so did my husband, that we didn't know how to fight. We knew how to hurt. We didn't know how to have boundaries. We didn't know how to respect each other. When there was a different disagreement, there was no coaching or teaching or any sort of thing on that. I was raised in a house where when there was a disagreement, it was either screamed out or it was separated out. Like you went into another place. You didn't actually see people have a conversation. He had a similar situation. So we really had to work to learn to fight in a civil way. And I know I've said it to you guys before. I know I'm tangenting here. I had a huge slamming the door situation that I would break the door frame because I was so angry, and I didn't know any other way other than this was the way to get it out. So now we're going back like a good 10, 15 years here, guys. So this is a good thing. I don't slam anything anymore, and it's much, much more harmonious in here. And we don't throw around the word divorce. When it comes to points, I don't think of it like that, and I'm very careful to not, and this is something that came from this community and this group, is you don't weaponize their words, and you don't weaponize their behavior and take digs and go after hurt and go for blood. You figure out what's going on, because something's going on, and that I think is much more helpful and much more life-changing than going for blood. Big workaround for that.
I was going to say, again, there's cause, effect, and meaning, or as Dr. David teaches, complex equivalency. And, but guys rarely get to meaning. I mean, we get there, but it's, like you said, again, it has to be taught, and, we're, like I said, it's just, again, when guys are in that emotional state where irrational, illogical, unreasonable, and can be very hurtful. Children are like that. But
Spoken to women.
but that complex equivalency, like I said, or meaning, we can get there, but we rarely go beyond cause and effect. The story that guy gets up in the morning, he knows his kid's in the soccer final. At the end of the day, he tells the wife, "Don't worry about it. I know how important it is. I'll be there." But he gets to work, and the boss is a jerk. The client is a a-hole, and he can't get out of work a minute early. Gets on the road to come home. He hits the worst traffic jam ever. He arrives just after the game is over and they're cleaning up. He runs up to his wife and he gives her all the cause. And, well, this happened and that happened, and the boss was a jerk, and my client was an a-hole, and I hit the worst traffic jam ever. And she's looking at him with that look, with her hands on her hips, going, "Yeah, but if you loved your son, you would have been here." And he's like, "Ah!"
Yeah. Anybody else got any ahas, epiphanies, something to share on this? So I got squirrels bouncing all over the place over here. Nobody else? Well, one of the things that one of my humorous little squirrels said, yeah, it's kind of like trying to understand air miles. When you got your airline credit card and you're building up air miles, and all of a sudden you're like, I've got all these miles, awesome, I'll be able to go anywhere. And then you go to book a trip, and instead of $400, it's 72,000 air miles.
Yep.
Wait, what? And we can sometimes make it lopsided like that. Especially us guys, like, hey, I took out the trash. And? Or like the people, I feed my kids. Versus what? And when Lenora was talking about the challenge of being in a relationship, especially if you were taught toxic ways of dealing with frustration, anger, and all that stuff, who knows your intimate buttons better than your person? And it's a really that burden carries a lot of weight, a lot of respect, a lot of restraint, because you know their intimate buttons. And if you grew up witnessing, oh, you said that? Well, fine. Here's button number 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And I know that that's the perfect combination to absolutely put you in a fury, and you earned it. Oh, yeah? Well, I know the combination to ruin your week, too. And we have to figure out, wow, did anybody win the battle? And what was the cost of the war? Yeah, we got hands going up on that one. Who goes
My mom's in the background watching. I want to know what she thinks.
Mom's
Touche,
like,
Mark.
yeah. Lenora.
No, I was waving to mom.
They wanna
I
hear
agree
from
with Mark.
Mom.
What does mom think?
I don't know.
Mom just went, oh,
Got caught.
spotlight effect.
Oh, banana peels, I forgot.
See?
Oh,
The
no.
word the word deserving and worthy, and those are words that I have worked on for so many years, and they have worked their way on me for sure. And I think and anything with the right tone, I think people can go after you with it, especially for saying with such disdain and such disgust that especially a parent to a child, that you don't deserve this, or you're not worthy of it, or who said that you could have that. There's such a energy passed to that, and such a charge to those words, or there can be, at least there was for me. And then that's where we learn to shame. That's where we learn to put somebody down. It's wild to work to unlearn it, and then to also work so hard to unlearn it and then be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't or isn't willing to put in the same effort. That can be extremely painful also, because now we're assigning meaning to it. Well, I'm not worth investing in that. You don't care about me. Like, then they, oh, holy bananas. What a web.
Well, and my squirrels over here are going nutsoid right now. Fits right in with understanding that kids, a lot of times parents think that kids learn by watching what you do. Well, we never fought like that in front of the kids. Kids absorb what you do. They are catching on a lot more than you will understand, even more than they understand. I know, because I work with the kids who turned into the adults who absorbed the energies. And this also goes straight in line with our first topic of the manifesting. If your parents had the belief system that, again, you don't get anything unless you absolutely work your fingers to the bone, and you sacrifice, and you give up, and oh, whoa, you don't know what I've done to you for you. And that story starts sinking in, and then all of a sudden down the line one day you hear about this whole manifesting thing where, oh my gosh, all I got to do is believe I'm worthy of having a good life. That if that were true, my mom would have told me, my dad would have showed me. They didn't know about it either. They did the best they could at the time with the tools, the knowledge, the energy they had available to them. If they could have done better, they would have, on so many planes. But that's where I'm constantly reminding my clients, a lot of them are my clients because they bought into the stories handed to them by people that were doing the best they could. And they don't fully understand when would now be a good time to change the narrative, to change the story, to change the belief systems, to change your belief of your worthiness, your ability to manifest, your right to the life that you've seen other people live. Regardless of where you came from, who you grew up with, who your parents are, all the above. At a certain point in your life, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. Mike.
Wrong one.
Too many buttons.
Yeah.
um, I try to treat people the way I love them. And if I have the energy that I want to hurt somebody, that isn't coming from a loving place. So I need to step back and re-examine what's going on, and kind of go from there. And that's my 2 cents.
Yes, exactly. Mark.
I was gonna say, I didn't grow up in that kind of environment in Lenora. My mom kind of ruled the roost by the time I came along. If she said jump, my dad would say how high. So I had no experience with how to fight, how to hurt. So, and there were times early in my marriage when my wife, nobody was helping out around the house. The dishes were piling up in the sink, and she lost it. I had no idea how to react, so I just sat there and smiled. And I was kind of amused because I had never seen somebody lose their shit, about something like that. And I just sat there and smiled. I was just, and after a few, she eventually would look over and see that I was just smiling. I wasn't getting ready to hit back. She's like, "What the hell are you smiling about?" I said, "I don't know. I just love you when you're passionate." And she goes, "Ah!" And she'd walk away. Because I had no experience of, that what you said you learned in that environment of he who yells loudest has the floor. I had no experience of it, so I just smiled. And it was state control, and I didn't even know it at the time because I was, a young married guy, and you know, but yeah, that's how our early, what we observe, conditioned us. But I had nothing when she went off. I was like, okay, and you can't fight with somebody who's smiling at you. So she'd be like, ah, and she'd walk away.
That's so funny. I actually would fight with my sister. So she and I would get into screaming matches. And that was, she and I we were 3 years apart, and boy, oh boy, did we know how to fight and fight hard. But I was the younger one, so I was the weaker one, and not necessarily in a physical sense, but it was just, I wasn't as quick, I wasn't as sharp, and which I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I love that you had shared that. Side note, had you smiled at me, oh my God, I would have lost it even more. No. Because then I would have thought you were making fun of me, and then that would have just sent me skyrocketing even more.
I wasn't being condescending. I had just never
No,
seen it
it's not
before.
you. That's what smiling means to me, is that somebody's making fun of me. So then that would have been like,
I dated that woman once. She was losing her stuff over something I didn't even do. I wasn't even part of it. And I, oopsie, started giggling. Woo! I just chucked 2 gallons of nitro onto a jet, and that was, yeah, that relationship was done right there. I didn't even know I was like, I didn't even start the whole shit. For real?
Mark's only saving grace would have been just, well, I just love it when you're passionate.
The other one that came up is watching the first time that I saw 2 parents openly yell and scream at each other. And because I had not witnessed that in my household, I literally was like, oh, okay, we're done. I'm gonna have to find a ride home because they're getting divorced tonight. Somebody's moving out, and my poor friend is gonna be homeless. And 2 hours later, they're acting like nothing happened. And I remember sitting there trying to process, like, did you guys, you said, and wow, I don't want to do that. Mark.
Yeah, I know, again, some kids witness, I know mom and dad love each other and mom and dad yell and scream at each other every night. And the lesson they learn from it is if you love somebody, you yell and scream at them every night.
Yes. Yeah. And if you don't yell and scream, or if you're not a jealous possessive, then you don't love me. I went through that one too.
I was very sheltered.
Yeah, like, or that type of communication is even acceptable. And that's also reflective on what people will do for attention. Because when you're a kid, a lot of people don't understand, for a kid, any attention is attention. If they can't get any attention until they break a glass, well, pretty soon, when they want some attention, they'll just grab a glass and throw it against the wall. Well, hey, I got attention. And those of us that grew up with proper attention are going, I don't want that attention. No. What the heck is wrong with you? What was wrong with them is their understanding of the process. So, we got all the answers on that. I know that Lenora had a question or a topic that she was going to start off the hour with. Now we've got half of the hour
Well,
gone.
I've actually already been sprinkling it in throughout the entire call.
We got sprinkles, and we
Yeah,
didn't
we
even
got
ask for them.
Rainbow?
Sprinkles.
Always.
Well, do we have any more sprinkles we can discuss, or did we discuss all the sprinkles already? Yeah.
I had another one. I'm trying to remember if I can actually piece it together. So I'm talking a lot and thinking a lot about lessons and trances and the things that we're taught to quite literally, well, that's what I was told. That's what I know. And those first thoughts that were given and how they become what I have often said is, break the trance or get the lesson, detach the meaning. And I'm thinking a lot about it. I'm talking a lot about it, and I'm writing a lot about it. And the other one is anchors. And somebody had recently shared with me that I had anchors to two words, and I didn't even consider it. So I'm sharing it only in case it resonates with other people. I had anchors to the words stupid and the words shame. And I thought it was very interesting the way that this person had shared with me, because I found that I had, I was going through, going through an experience, and the meaning that I took away, and I was so upset as to the way this experience went and the way that it ended, and I kept coming back to, because it felt like I was stupid, or the experience meant to me that this person was trying to make me feel stupid. And for as many conversations as I had with my younger self going, no, that's not it. That's not it. Somebody had pointed out to me that it's not the experience, it's the attachment to the word. And so going in after that word really helped me separate the lesson, or separate the story, or separate the information that I had loaded in to this word. So if there are certain words that you use, or that you find that come up, like the word stupid or the word not enough or something like that, I encourage people to sit with the word and spend some time with it and figure out what the charge is in that word. And big words that used to really be very charged for me were worthy and deserving and enough. And over the last couple of weeks, whatever was hanging around those words just has completely evaporated. And I know, right? and the charge around the words stupid and shame. And I realized I was the one that was assigning the meaning. And I had to go back and really think like, okay, does this really mean this? Is this the only thing that we can come up with? And it really shifted my perspective in those words.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great topic. Anybody else got anything they want to add to that? Yes, no, maybe so. I deal with a lot of word meaning attachment with my clients on words and conversations and old, I call them the old videos of the memories that we have and what they meant and what they're still doing in their lives today. And one of my favorite questions, you know, especially with certain words or certain phrases, if you were walking down a random street and some drunken homeless meth head was sitting on the steps of some building and you're walking by and they said those words to you, how long would you allow it to bother you? And there may be some words or phrases that even from this random, you know, for those of you that are in love with drunk homeless meth heads, stop typing. It's just an example. But if that type of environment still bothers you, what is it about those words that you put so much energy into anytime they show up? And who's reacting and how old are they? And the vast majority of the time, regardless if it happened last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when we really get to do a deep dive on why those words or phrases bother you so much, childhood, somewhere along the line, those words were given such intense energy and meaning, and you're still holding on to it. And for some people, they can't fathom, well, how is it that somebody else can have this said to them and they're like, whatever. It's because that person, even if they heard it at the same point in their life, didn't grab onto it, make it their own, and fill it full of energy. They heard it and went, oh yeah? Well, you suck too, whatever, and walked away. And we never forgot to allow ourselves, especially as adults, to teach that younger kid inside of us that they have the ability to do that. Well, I screwed up this one time when I was doing something for the first time and somebody told me I was an absolute idiot and I was stupid. And so from that point on, I have worked so hard to make sure that I never do that kind of a stupid mistake ever again. And the weight that I carry with it is just crushing me, and if it happens one time, nobody understands why I lose my mind when I make this one little stupid mistake. And you're right, they don't understand because they didn't experience that, and even if they did at the time, they didn't grab that experience and give it all of that meaning, all of that energy, all of that pressure, and carry it with them for the rest of their life. Trust me, I used to be the kick myself perfectionist on a certain number of things. And all it did was steal my joy and made me not want to show certain things to people because I could see the flaws. I knew where it wasn't perfect. So if I could see it, obviously everybody else could see it. I mean, it's right there, bright as day. And then somebody challenged me. Oh yeah? Set it out and tell people to point out the flaw to you. And all the blind people showed up. Nobody could see that flaw. I'm like, God, how do you guys walk around in life being that blind? I mean, I can see it. It's right there. I made it. I know where the flaw is. And yet nobody, and when I pointed it out, even less people cared. What the what? And when I put it up for sale, somebody bought it and told me I should have charged more because they didn't see the flaw. And when I pointed it out, they didn't care. You know why? Because they knew if it was that hard for them to see it, nobody else would see it. So they didn't care. Mark.
Yeah, I saw a little blurb on Facebook today that the Mona Lisa, when Leonardo painted it, it was a silk merchant that commissioned it, but because it wasn't perfect, he wouldn't let it go. In fact, he carried the Mona Lisa around with him to France, to different cities, because he kept adding to it. He kept, and his final words rang true, with attaching too much to anchoring to perfection. And his last words were, "Tell me if anything ever was done." And so he couldn't see the perfection in the Mona Lisa, which everybody thinks is, the world's greatest painting, but he refused to see it, and he, because he was, because he never thought the painting was done to his standards, and, so he carried it around for 16 years, kept adding to it. So that's, just something I saw today, and it reminded me.
And Mike tossed in a great comment of he kept adding to it because his skills kept getting better. With the new knowledge, how do you let it go? And something that Dr. David has said repeatedly, an imperfect something will always be better than a perfect nothing. While you're sitting there trying to make your product absolutely impeccable, the best ever, Joe don't give a rip down the block produced 37 things almost as good as yours and sold every one of them. And when you get yours to the level that you believe it is perfect, you're still not going to be able to sell it for the amount of money that Joe Don't Give a Rip has made off of the 37 close enough ones. And when you break down your hourly rate, don't do it because it will depress you. Joe made $180 an hour making his good enough ones. And when you break down your hourly rate, you're going to make $1.80 an hour. But hey, yours is superior to him. Nobody can see it, but you know yours is superior to him. And yet he's driving a new car, living in a great house, and you're driving a jalopy hoping you can pay rent because it had to be perfect. That's why on my board in my office, it says, instead of perfection, pursue excellence. Perfection is unattainable because even when you say it's perfect, all it takes is somebody to come up and go, well, what if you were able to do it a little faster? Wouldn't that be more perfect? But excellence can be built on every second of every minute. That was excellent. Yeah, but then I did it this way. Now it's even more excellent. Oh, but then I thought about doing it this way. Oh, now it's even more excellent. And it was good enough 17 excellences ago. Any other ideas, thoughts, epiphanies, ahas on that?
Mike was adding in the chat.
Yes. Go ahead, read it.
Oh, you want me to read it? We were talking about the Mona Lisa, and he said he kept adding to it because his skills kept getting better. With new knowledge, how do you let it go? The art class, where half was told to do, I guess there was another art class, half was told to do bulk pictures, where the other half was asked to make one picture perfect. The ones that did bulk had better pictures at the end of the class. Or why didn't... And then there was some other feedback that some other people might have shared. In this case, it says, or why didn't you do it this way? This is what I got from my father.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very different.
Yeah, and I've seen that study, and they were right because the people that were trying to do the one best one were so caught up in technique and application and how to do it, and the ones that were out to do bulk enjoyed the journey and allowed it to just flow. And when it was done, and off they went, and they started another one. And the ones that were striving for the perfect one were caught up in so much overthinking, they didn't even enjoy the process, and it showed in their work. All right, we got 11 minis left. Who's got another question or topic? And the silence sets in.
Polite squirrels. I didn't know if there was any other topic that people wanted to share. I know Elijah was sharing something at the end of last week. You don't have your notes because we were talking about something at the end of last week and it was like, oh, we still needed 10 more minutes on this topic. What were the other two topics that you had for the first hour?
The other two topics were the
Don't post them
game.
on Facebook, so now it's a total
Yes.
surprise.
Yes. Oh yeah, fake book.
Mhm.
I was bitter for a while, but I'm over it. The other two topics that we didn't get to are the game and the messages. And
The
if
game and the
nobody has anything to bring up, then I guess we can jump into those. The game.
Oh, hold on. Come on.
Mark.
I was going to say, I just had a couple of quotes about it popped up.
You sent
For
me a
whatever
quote the
reason.
other day. Yeah.
Yeah, but these were about these were about grief, and just got a text from the other day from a buddy of mine that just lost his mom, and I passed them along. But he was wondering why, again, they didn't have a great relationship, but anyway. But the quote is, "Grief doesn't keep a schedule; it just shows up when it wants to." That was one, and then the other one is, "To weep is to make a little less the depth of grief."
Would you type those into the comments, please, so that it ends up on at least my recording? I'd appreciate that.
Those are good ones.
Mm.
Any comments on those amazing quotes?
There was one that had always stood out to me, and I like that the first one that you had shared, because it made me think of that one quote, and especially when it comes to parents. I believe, so it says grief, and it just shows up. There's one by Nicole Kidman, and people often will try to give you a timeline on how long you should grieve, or like, oh, well, you need to move on, or something like that. And I personally don't think that. And I personally think however someone processes it is however somebody experiences it, and it's entirely up to them. And there is no specific window, and it can be helpful if people find that to be like, oh, guidelines are helpful. It's been this long, like, okay, people have said that I can move on. If that's helpful to you, for sure. Those words won't necessarily ever come out of my mouth. That it goes in waves. And I imagine that it does just with anything, whether it's a heartache or, a shifting of an identity of some sort. Especially when it comes to losing somebody who, whether they were your physical parent or they were somebody who you felt so connected to that they were a caregiver to you, or somebody who really was there for you for a period of your life. However long it takes is however long it takes, and it shouldn't be up to a map of, oh, well, it's been 5 weeks or it's been this long. It's however long that person feels is best for them.
And I've worked with a number of clients now on grief. And one of the things that I like to ask them is, if the person, we'll just use the loss of a loved one or whatever as the example, if that person, if I could talk to them right now, if I had the ability to ring them up and go and ask them how long would they believe is appropriate for you to grieve over them being gone versus missing them. How long do you think they might say it would be appropriate for you to be in grief over their absence versus missing them? And almost every time, the answer that they give themselves is, I've grieved enough. The act of the showing of love has been accomplished. There's no question that, the person who is passed appreciates the grief, the emotion, the pain that you have expressed and felt. But because they love you as well, they would prefer that you just move into a state of missing them, missing their presence. And remembering the celebration of times with them. And is this loss in a grieving due to the finite focus of loss? A lot of times, what I'm finding with my grief clients is they feel that whether they consciously acknowledged it, if they stopped grieving at this level, it would mean that they didn't love that person enough. And so they continue it as a show of love and admiration and respect for the person that's gone, without thinking about the fact that they're allowed to miss this person for the rest of their lives. But the expenditure and the punishment of the grief that they are holding on to out of respect, if the tables were turned, they would be out there in the ether looking at this loved one going, please don't hurt yourself with this amount of grief anymore. I know you love me. I know you loved me and that you still do. But this suffering isn't showing me that love in any stronger level. In fact, if you love me that much, let go of the grief, get back to living your life, and don't forget me. One of the questions is how many times does a person die? And one of the best explanations I ever heard is everybody dies twice. The first time that you die is when you take your final breath in this meat suit that you've been living in on this planet. The second time that you die is when nobody remembers who you are anymore or who you were. Now, there are certain people that we know will never suffer that second death. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, they died the first time, but as long as there's any form of history books or anything, they will never die the second death. And yes, it was wonderfully represented in the movie Coco. A beautiful Pixar movie. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It's great.
Bring Kleenex.
Family one. Either bring 2 boxes of Kleenex or a beach towel, but it's a feel-good movie. Again, the families there didn't walk around carrying this heavy 2-ton weight of grief. They did the celebration and looked at the pictures and everything and had the day of remembrance and talking and all these stuff, making sure that the family lineage was not forgotten. Because Wayne Dyer said it great, and you can never get sick enough to make somebody healthy. You can never become sad enough to make another person happy. You can never become poor enough to make another person rich. And I'm going to add in there, you can never grieve hard enough to bring somebody back. You have to take care of yourself, live your life the best that you can. Surround yourself with great people like you all. I appreciate you being here so much. Once again, we have sped up time at a quantum level. 2 hours goes blip, blip, and it's gone. If you want to stretch out time, do a plank. 1 minute becomes extremely long, especially the first time you try to do that 1 minute plank. You'll see how long a minute can be. And yes, Mark, before we go out, Mark, share your word of the day.
Mbuto, and it's a Zulu word, and it means I am because we are.
I am because we are. Umbuto. What a great word for the day.
Yeah,
And so everybody, thank you for investing your precious commodity of time here on this platform once again for the 190th episode. If I ever figure out how to reproduce time and hand it back to you, you'll be the second to know. I get to say that every week. And normally this is the time where I would say, for all of you out in YouTube land, love you, Mom.
Love you too,
Hi,
sweetheart.
Mom.
Bye, Nate.
Got a great son.
That's
Worthy
so
of great
awesome.
praise.
I
Aw.
I
And
enjoyed
Dave for watching live too. It's kind of fun having a
Live
live
audience.
once in person live. So until the next time we get together, 7 amazing days from now, please go out and live the best life that you can possibly put together and share it with as many people as you can. If there's anything I can do to help you guys out, please contact me. For those of you that are actually out in YouTube land, thank you as well. Appreciate you. If you've watched this recording all the way to the end, thank you also. So until next week, love you all. See you back here in 7.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, TJ.